Well, good evening, good evening, good evening. Welcome to another episode of the Bridge Podcast. We have a delightful, well, I should say, a awesome panel for tonight. Joining us, we have Mr. Asa Shaw and Phil Nugent from Black Men Build.
Phil
A great
Agnew. Agnew.
Agnew. I don't know why I said that. I'm looking at
Hey.
something
Love
else.
you a whole candy bar, man.
Oh man.
That's my hunger.
Yeah, it is. It is. It's talking to you, brother.
Joining us tonight, we're gonna have a great discussion about Black Men Build and Black August. I need to turn down my volume. I'm killing myself. But we finna jump it off. Start it off with what is Black Man Build and how did it come about?
Hey, so you want to take it?
Yeah. So glad to be here with y'all, and Phil Nugent and brother Chef Irie.
Y'all gonna kill me the rest of the week with this.
It's hilarious, man. But it's great to be here with y'all to talk about Black Men Build, something that's near and dear to my heart and that has saved me in so many ways. Black Men Build was founded last year, officially, well, we launched last year, but the preparation and the work that went into starting the organization started about almost a year before that. But Black Men Build is an organization that seeks to transform and organize Black men across the country to be in service to Black people and power building. So that's essentially what we are. Phil, do you want to talk about why we were founded, or?
Yeah, I mean, sure. Once again, I'm excited to be here with y'all. This is an honor. Big fan. The goal of Black Men Build is for us to have an army of brothers, really in the next few months. And the numbers are important, but also, as Asa said, that deep transformation is important. And brothers working together in coordination in 10 or 11 cities around the country, which we don't have in any other organization other than maybe church affiliations or fraternities. And I grew up in the church and I'm a part of a fraternity. And so really our goal is to develop an organization that is able to work and move in concert with one another, where brothers are able to come together, debate, talk. But the most important thing is to express themselves in support of the community and in defending the community. So that's the main point. That's the main purpose of Black Men Build.
Okay, Ari, you want to jump in? You got something you want to ask? Or?
Well, finally, it's kind of interesting that we're having this discussion today for this month. Not being well versed on Black August, but for Jamaica, being an immigrant in Jamaica, yesterday was Emancipation Day for Jamaica, and at the end of the week we celebrate independence. And when you look at everything that went on for us to get to this point, and all in everything that in between, and the people who did what they did, it's kind of cool. That we're here talking about this, and I feel kind of cool talking to you about it with you guys, to learn more myself. What the whole platform is and what your platform is, for sure.
Hey man, and you all brought in Emancipation Day with three, a gold, a silver, and a bronze medal, man, breaking world records in the Olympics as well, brother.
1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3,
1, 2,
1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3.
and that number one is gonna last for a little while, man. That broke a 30-year-old record. But if we can, Mr. J, I'm gonna segue into Black August, because not just in Jamaica, but in Haiti, and around the United States, there are a lot of revolutionary and activities, people that call August home. And so that is one of the primary reasons why we acknowledge and celebrate Black August. It was started in Soledad Prison in 1978 or 79. And it was started to commemorate the life and the legacy of George Jackson. George Jackson took a plea agreement, like we know so many young Black brothers and sisters do. He convicted of, I think, pled guilty to stealing some $70 in a gas station. His mother says he was just with the person who did it. He was told that he was going to get a lighter sentence, and they wound up giving him 10 years to life. 10 years to life in prison, and he wound up serving the majority of that sentence primarily in solitary confinement, and he educated himself while he was in prison. He already had a mother named Georgia Jackson, who had already built in him a strong consciousness. But he became a radical revolutionary leader and founded the Black Guerrilla Family and a number of other institutions behind the prison walls. And so this brother was murdered by the prison guards for his activism, for his organizing, for his ideology. And his brother, before he was murdered, sought to break him out of prison and demanded his release from prison, and the police murdered him as well. And so it's during this month that we honor the lives and the legacies of political prisoners in the United States and around the world. But we also acknowledge, as you just said, Brother Irie, that this is a month where no matter where you look, you may find a date in August where something radical and revolutionary, where a Black person took up arms or took a stand against the United States or some other imperial power. And so that's why we do what we do during the month of August, and that's why we call it Black August.
Righteous.
So let me ask, how does this differ from Black History Month?
Yeah, I mean, that's a good question. I think that for me, this differs, one, from Black History Month because of the genesis of it. And essentially, Black History Month was, founded by the work of Brother Carter G. Woodson, thankfully, but it also was sort of like a accommodationist win that we got from the United States government. So it's not something that we've kind of put our soul into before it was created. And it was also not a full month at the time that it was first created. So Black History Month is something that they kind of just gave us. You can consider it an appeasement, and people use it, I think, in that way too. People don't really observe it in the way that, say, Jamaica observes their Independence Day, or people don't really observe it in the way that we would want Black folks to observe Black History Month. But Black August, on the other hand, comes out the blood and struggle of Black people. It was created by brothers that are currently suffering at the bottom of the United States Empire, the people that are colonial subjects of the United States Empire, that are living behind the cages that the United States Empire has created to sort of, corral free labor and corral Black folks that have done things that they don't deem valuable to society. So Black August was created for us to be able to, really dig deep within our souls around the reasons that we exist in this world as Black people politically, what has happened to us, and for us to really, rededicate ourselves and recommit ourselves to struggling around freeing ourselves and our people. So Black August, I think, was like something that we created, a feeling of self-determination. And Black History Month is essentially, I think, an accommodationist month that was given to us. But either way, celebrate what you celebrate.
Ari, you have something you want to expand upon on that, or?
No, I'm taking some mental notes right now.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
So I would ask, so how do we participate, or how do we celebrate during the month of Black August?
That's a great question, and I think in addition to all the things that Asa said, this is also one of the differences between Black History Month and Black August. Black History Month has become a thing that McDonald's, that Apple, that Nike, that the major corporations of the United States have been able to use to make money, right? And to latch on and, to take on this garb of being in support of Black people. Black August, with its roots, as Asa said, is a radical revolutionary concept. And so you cannot passively celebrate Black August as you can do Black History Month. And look, I love Black History Month. I grew up loving it. This is not no dig on Black History Month. I think people observe it in a lot of different ways, and it's an important thing for us to have. But Black August, how people participate in Black August is through a fast primarily. There are three major tenets to Black August: to fast, which I'll break down in a second quickly; to train, which I'll do the same; and to study. And so the fasting takes place from sunup to sundown, which is why we were making some jokes a little bit earlier about eating and being hungry, and why Brother James is about to go eat as soon as he gets off of here. And we fast and we take out all of the impurities out of our body as a way to not just commemorate and acknowledge the sacrifice of political prisoners, many of which are still behind the walls in solitary confinement, but also to strengthen our bodies, our minds, and our souls for the war and for the battle ahead. It's not something we take as a joke, but it's not something I think people should take overly serious in that. People can deny their bodies in a whole lot of different ways, but we choose to do this because we understand that it does make our bodies stronger, and what we put into our bodies has ramifications for all other parts of ourselves. So we do that from sunup to sundown every single day in the month of August. There are 4 days that we do a 24-hour fast, and those are on days where political prisoners, freedom fighters were killed by the United States. So George Jackson's death, Jonathan Jackson, his brother, his death, and there are 2 others, and y'all have to excuse me for not knowing the names of those other 2 brothers, but they were also murdered during the month of August. We also commit to studying. So we'll be doing a reading group tomorrow at 7:00 p.m. that Brother Asa is leading. And we consistently send podcasts, music, videos, documentaries to each other so that we can educate ourselves and use this month. While we're not feeding our bodies, we can feed our minds. And then we train. So we have a run group. So brothers are doing a mile run a little bit every day, or continue to work out. So those are the 3 tenets. And and kind of to close, what you'll realize is that all 3 of those things work to enhance our mind, bodies, and spirits. But all 3 of those things also draw us closer into what we call solidarity, a connection with the brothers and sisters who are behind the walls, who don't have adequate food, who have to study in order to get themselves free, and who spend a lot of their time reading and training.
Well, it's interesting. I didn't know that there was a fasting component of the whole Black August, which is that's kind of cool. So the fasting and the learning component intrigues me for sure.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. I mean, it's a level of commitment, and it's a level of throughout the day, especially with how we're doing it with Black Men Build. We have 79, 80 brothers who are doing this around the country as well. So it's just a good thing to build up that relationship with one another, which is one of the other purposes of it for Black Men Build, was to use this month to draw closer with one another.
So Black Men Build is a national group.
Oh yes.
Okay.
So, what besides that, the fasting, you also can give up other things during this time period.
Mm-hmm.
Like
Yeah.
like I'm giving up that stuff you over there smoking on and sipping on.
Uh-huh.
It's just for the show, bro.
It's all good.
Yeah.
But
So I think we can spin it back because we covered what other aspects you think someone should know about Black August that we haven't already covered.
I think just also to that Black August is not only wasn't founded by folks behind the walls, but also that it's really to not only remember the folks that are still behind the walls, but also to actively find ways to support them. So there's a lot of folks, uh, political prisoners behind the walls still um for struggling for Black people, for political reasons, and those are the only reasons that they are there because they decided to stand up and fight back against the United States in different ways. Mumia Abu Jamal is one brother that's still behind the walls. Um, um, uh, uh, what's that other Black Panther's name, Phil? I'm sorry. That's behind the wall.
I don't. I mean, I think it's over. It's like 17 brothers. So,
Yeah. But
yeah.
if y'all go to Jericho Movement, JerichoMovement.com or .org, then you can kind of look at all the different people that are still being fought for, that are behind the walls because they did something political in service to Black people. So it's not only just, like I said, to remember the folks behind there, but to also find ways to actively fight for them in their cases that are still being brought up in courts. So you can do that by contributing money to the case because they have large legal fees, and also just spreading the word about these folks. So go to JerichoMovement.com or .org. I'm not sure.
It's .com. I just looked at it. It's .com. Yeah.
JerichoMovement.com and check out all of those folks. Read their stories, remember them, and then give some money if you can to support their cause.
One of the questions that we have is you don't have to be Black to participate at all. We have brothers and sisters of all nationalities and ethnicities who are participating, not just in support of Black political prisoners either. There are white political prisoners. There are indigenous, native political prisoners. There are Puerto Rican political prisoners. If you go around the world, there are Palestinian political prisoners, Brazilian. There are many people of all races who find themselves behind the walls, and most of them, many of them, I would say all of them, are behind the walls for their political views and their activities and how the U.S. or the Western world views them as criminal. And so it's not just, it started as something with Black revolutionaries in prisons, but this is absolutely an idea and a concept that has been adopted by people across the diaspora and across the world.
So what's the so when I look at the landscape today, and and like I said, I've been here for 30 something years, and I'm like every year something always happens to spark new sort of learning for me, especially when it comes to Black culture here in this country. And so I'd have to ask, given what happened in the past, for political individuals, on the freedom, fighting for for justice and all that good stuff. Um, how do you see that it doesn't seem like it's a big part of the fabric for us today in the way that I saw it when I look at documentaries and stuff like that. It's either moved into the background, or in a lot of places is very sort of non-existent. you know so how is it relevant today, and how we are making those people and their voices you know heard?
Let me make sure I'm understanding your question correctly, and then if Asa wants to jump in, you're saying the freedom fighters or the movement, it doesn't seem to be at the forefront as it was in the past. Is that basically what you're asking?
Correct.
Okay. Yep. Um, Ace, you want to go, or you? I don't mind. Wait.
I'll just say real quick that it's there's a misconception about the past that it's like hindsight is 2020 because we see all the videos and we know that there was these huge upheavals during that time. There was the Vietnam War. There was so much happening during that time. The civil rights movement. There was the gay rights movement, the women's rights movement. There's so much stuff happening. So people just assume that the majority of the people in the United States were engulfed in this whole conflict, or even chose a side on both of these conflicts, on any of these conflicts. But when you talk to some folks from back then, they also say that there was just as much apathy back then. There was just as much people that were that did not like Martin Luther King. There was just as much people that were in the streets back then are in the streets now, and vice versa. So I just want to say that we have to, when we're thinking about the past, we also can't romanticize it and think about, that that the civil rights was just this very exceptional time. That stuff doesn't happen now. So I'll say that, and then I'll also say that in today's day and age, I think that right now, especially coming out of the 2010s, with the whole idea about the 1%, the Black Lives Matter movement, Mike Brown happening, the Arab Spring happening, the election of Trump. So many things happened not last year, but in the 2010s. That was just, I think, so politically relevant that has kind of changed the way that I think a lot of people in the United States are at least viewing and looking at the world. And we can see that by policy and the way that the presidential candidates move and the things that they talk about, some of the things that the Democrats and the Republicans talk about, what's on people's minds in those ways. I know if you all have children, a lot of them are a little bit more conscious about some of these things right now than I was growing up. You know what I'm saying? So I think that we're in a special moment right now where the United States is moving in a way that I think that it hasn't in a long time. So I think that we're really in a moment right now, a whirlwind moment that could go in our favor or against it. It's just up to us and how we organize it.
Okay. I have a question that's happening on Facebook that hasn't popped up. Is someone asks how can people join you in your efforts in observation of Black August?
Go ahead and email me. They can email me or Asa. So my email is Phil, PHIL, at blackman.build. Asa's is Asa at blackman.build. We can send them an email that has all the information. And really, you can, if you don't want to do that, you can start tomorrow. We do fast from sun up to sundown. And so wherever you are in the country, if you're on the East Coast, sun up is around 6:48 a.m. And so if you're up early enough, you can eat a good breakfast. And then sundown is around 8:06, 8:05 p.m. And so you would eat after that. But I would recommend that you email us. Once again, that's Phil at blackman.build, not blackman.com, but blackman.build. And then ASA at blackman.build. And we can send you the information for how you can get involved. We have a reading group that's happening tomorrow. So brother Bird or Sister Bird, you can find out what topics we're doing on our reading group. And if you email us this evening, we can send you the videos and the readings that we're going to be discussing tomorrow at 7:00 p.m. on Zoom.
Okay, and then I guess that will cover another question that was asked from someone that said, how can we find out about the topics you're studying?
Yep. That's how they can find out. And during this month, whether you join us or not, we recommend that you read the two books that by George Jackson, which are a compilation of his letters, Soledad Brother and Blood in My Eye. both incredibly important texts, very easy to read, very plain language, but captures the analysis, the anger, and really in a lot of ways is a prophetic document because he predicts and calls out a lot of things that are happening right now. The study sessions are absolutely open to the public, Kendra. We would love to have you.
Yep, just email us.
Okay.
But
All right. So let's
that's
spin it back
for
to.
the Zoom link. Okay.
We're gonna spin it back to Black Man Bill right now,
Hmm.
and could ask how can brothers join the organization or get affiliated with you?
Hmm. Yeah, so we have we're trying to build a deep organization that's disciplined and also, walks the talk and does what it says it's going to do and is an organization of principle. So we have a membership process. So first you would have to, first thing would be to email either me or Phil at the emails that he said before, or email brother Rodriguez at blackmen.bill, and that's RONDRIQUEZ.
No, I think his is actually R White. R
Oh,
White.
okay. So R White at blackmen.build, R White at blackmen.build. He's our at-large organizer. Email him to start getting a part of the membership process of the organization. And our membership process is just a couple of things. You have to sign the values pledge. You have to be inside of a hub or a chapter where we have one. We have chapters in 7 places across the country right now, and building them in other places too. You also have to attend a couple of our mass meetings and attend membership orientation, and then pay dues, and then you're a part of the organization. That's not too much if you're willing to get down with an organization that we believe is worth it. So that's our membership process, and email us, hit us up on Instagram at blackmen.build. I mean blackmen build on Instagram, on Facebook, and all handles.
Ari, you got anything you want to jump in on?
Yeah, I have a question. So, given the nature that we have multiple organizations that get formed all the time, and so how does Black Men Build differentiate itself from, say, something like was it 100 Black Men and other organizations, and how that's one question. And the other question is, how relevant is Black Men Build in its voice in the local communities?
Yeah. Yeah, both great questions. So 100 Black Men, incredible organization, Urban League, NAACP, all of these are really great organizations. I've been a member of NAACP before, and I'm also a member of a fraternity, Alpha Phi Alpha. ASA is also a member of that fraternity. Well, I understand 100 Black Men specifically, just because you mentioned it. This organization is really trying to cultivate, a talented 10th, the best Black men in the city who are successful in business, who are successful in law, who are successful in medicine, and really bring them together for the uplift of the community. And I think that's a really good goal. And I think 100 Black Men is a really interesting and cool organization. How I would say that Black Men Build differentiates from it is our political views. Our political views believe that assimilation into the United States, though we all to some degree have to be, we live here, we pay rent or pay mortgage or work here. So we're not foolish, but that the grand goal is not for us to be better American businessmen or better Black faces in white spaces. Our goal really is a revolutionary goal. And you talked about Emancipation Day, Independence Day. We believe that Black people, poor people, Native people in this country have yet to see our independence and our emancipation from a system that wants to kill Black people. It's very, very simple for us. So our political line and the political nature is very clear about who our friends are and who our enemies are. And we believe that the United States, in particular, has proven itself to be an enemy of Black people, not just in the United States, but in Haiti and Jamaica and the world over. And so we are a fighting organization. That is what we are building towards being. I wouldn't say that we are today, but our goal is in the next 6 months, a year, for our organization to be able to engage in real fights that win things for Black people in our cities, in the cities that we're located in. And so we will engage ourselves in campaigns. I wouldn't say election campaigns in the way that people think of politicians, but in campaigns that we hope will win real material benefits for people in Miami and in St. Louis and Houston and New Orleans and Atlanta and Milwaukee and Detroit. And so that, I would say those are the primary differences that I can think of, not knowing as much about 100 Black men, but we want to really transform Black men as well, as Asa said at the beginning. So it's not just about having brothers come together, it's creating a container for Black men to challenge one another and to be transformed through doing work and through that debate with one another. Does that make sense? I know it's kind of a long answer.
There.
Yep.
All right. So, I will, do Black Men Bill have any events or anything coming up?
Yeah, oh, you want to go, Ace?
You got it.
Yeah, we've got a number of events coming up. We have monthly events that we do at our hub, which is located at 5505 Northwest 7th Avenue, right next door to the Burger King. So this week we have our chess club, which is on every other Wednesday. So if you come over 5505 Northwest 7th Avenue, if you don't know how to play chess, which I'm one of those people, you can come and learn and get better. If you're a seasoned chess player or a grandmaster, then you can come and play with other brothers and sisters and children who are very good at chess. So we have our chess club at 7 p.m. this Wednesday and every other Wednesday following. This Friday, we also have a kickback at the hub where we'll be breaking our fast. As I said, sun up to sundown, we'll be breaking our fast together and have some incredible food if you want to join us for our kickback, also located at the hub. On this coming Monday and every second and fourth Monday, we have our men's circle. That is the one thing that's just for brothers. So you can come to the meeting. It's a time for us to talk and just to build and to engage with one another. And those are the recurring events that we have, and we're going to add to that calendar. So just to refresh, this Wednesday and every other Wednesday, chess club. This Friday and every first Friday, we have our kickback. And this coming Monday, a week from today, and every second and fourth Monday, we'll be having our men's circle. And those are some of the events that we have coming up. If you want to learn more about the events that we have coming on a routine basis, you can email Gunder, Gunder, that's Gunder, at blackmen.build, and he can tap you into the other events that we have.
All right, Phil, we have one of our recurring audience members, and sometimes a panelist asks for an example of a campaign.
Yeah, so when I try to differentiate between a political campaign, which is usually for a person, we may campaign for free food, free a breakfast program, right? Or it may be affordable housing. And let's choose affordable housing. So, Brother Peoples, an example of a campaign that I would put forward is, if you know that at the beginning of this month, yesterday, a lot of the eviction moratoriums have gone away. And so the city is about to engage in a lot of evictions of people. And so one campaign that we may engage in, not now, we're not strong enough yet, but it may be a campaign to protect people's houses and let them and allow them to stay in their homes, whether they can pay for it or not. So it may be a housing campaign. So that's one version of a campaign. We may campaign for better public transportation, free public transportation, and expanded lines and hours for people so they can move about the city without breaking their bank. And so those are just two examples, but I think really there's 50 or so examples of campaigns that we could do that don't involve campaigning to get an individual person elected.
Yeah, and just to add on that, campaigns for us really, what we would do is really based on the an examination and analysis of the place that we're at. You know, if we understand that, like Phil said, that moratorium's up and the state is about to start kicking people out of their homes, and these people still have not gotten jobs after COVID, then we know that we need to put up defense for our folks in some type of way. If say um, um, in Miami, you know, climate crisis is a big thing, and that's about to really change the way that people live in Miami. If we know that that's an issue here, then we start developing campaigns and ways to get the city and the people around here, the people of power here, to really start putting an eye on this issue and educating our people to make sure that they're aware of what's about to happen and make sure that they're safe. So it really depends on a deep study of the place that we're in, an analysis of the place that we're in, to understand what's the right campaign to do here. We can't necessarily just say that we're going to give out a whole bunch of coats to people in Miami, because people in Miami don't need coats. You know what I'm saying? So it's like, it's what does Miami need? What does Broward need? What does South Florida need? And then developing campaigns around that specific need, and then organizing our people together to figure out how do we solve that issue together.
Okay, Mr.
Are
D, we
there
behind that.
yeah, I
Go
got a
ahead.
question. Are there what one of the things that we talk about on this show a lot is how we all work together, in various aspects, of community. And I'm always asking, you know, about collaborative efforts. So are is so Black Men Build are is this group on a local level working with other groups within the community for different things?
Oh yeah. Oh yeah. So currently we just left the meeting. Ace is still at the office, but we just left a meeting where we're working with an organization. I hope you've heard of it, but if you haven't, I would love to get them to be on your show, called the Black Collective. And they do political and electoral work, getting campaigns on the statewide and local level moved. So we're working with Black Collective. We also work with an incredible organization that I know you all have heard of, called the Circle of Brotherhood. And so we work very closely with them. Our lead organizer, Dexter Chico Gunder, is also a member and a leader within the Circle of Brotherhood. So those are the two local organizations that we work primarily with. We also work with the Dream Defenders, which is another organization that I helped to co-found. Asa was at one time a leader in that organization. And really, at this point, we're willing to work with just about anybody who shares our political vision and our political views. And that's an important thing. It doesn't mean that we think we're too good to work with people, but as you know, because you talk about partnerships, every partnership isn't equally yoked, and we want to engage in partnerships where we believe that our vision and the political work that we want to do aligns. And so, being a new organization, only a few months in Miami, we're still just figuring that out. But we've got 3 or 4 that we're working with consistently.
Okay, and you got anything else, Irie?
No, not necessarily, but I think, just push the way that we're able to access info. Like, brother, like, I love to learn how to play chess. I've never played chess yet.
Yeah, yeah,
You
yeah,
know,
yeah. Come through.
you know, you know, but as one of the things that's always of interest to me when it comes to younger Black men, and I was doing this pre-pandemic, for a few years before, is how we get to be visible when we are volunteering in different aspects. And for me, that volunteer aspect came in schools, and speak about what I do as a professional. And that's one of the things that I think is so badly needed in all our communities, especially all the communities that are representative of Black and Brown people. We need to be there so that they can, young men, early teens, preteens, to see that there is a lot to look forward to. Whether it's how you understand political movement, how you understand how to navigate community, how to understand how you navigate educational system. We're all part of this whole thing right now. So it's good to know that there are where you can hopefully you know set up some stuff and to volunteer for our younger men and get them involved in a lot of different ways. So I hope that that's also a big part of what you guys do as well.
Yeah, it is. Mentorship is an incredibly, important piece. And as we like to speak accurately to what we're doing. We're just starting, and so right now we've got a wide group, man. We've got brothers as young as right now, 19, 20, 21, all the way up to some elders, who are a little bit older than that. But the goal really is, I think, Asa would agree, and Chico, if he were here, would agree. We really do want to be touching and affecting the lives of young brothers, 14, 13, 14, 15, because honestly, in a lot of ways, after they leave 8th grade, 7th grade, it's hard to reach them. It's hard to keep them if you're able to reach them. So that is a part of our goal.
Righteous. Ooh, Black August. Wow, I'm excited.
And I will also expand on that and say they also are the future leaders that we need to train up in the right way. So that's why we need to touch them at a younger age to bring them up.
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm. Oh yeah, well, yeah, most of it. That's just from the community standpoint. We need to be in different ways building young leaders, and have them be able to share their voice, their opinions, their concerns. Can be that you're young, be quiet, and understand how the voice of the young is very relevant today. We should not be keeping them quiet, but we should be guided. The guidance is definitely needed, when we're talking about the next generation of
Mm-hmm.
fill in blanks. Question come up.
Yeah.
Yes, as we speak about community, what are the biggest hurdles faced when addressing the community? That's a question by Mr. Detron.
Who want to jump on that?
I'm not completely sure I understand the question. I would love to answer it though. I don't. Yeah. The only thing I'm mixed up on is when addressing the community, like when talking to the community, like when we go out, what's the biggest hurdles when talking to people, or what's the biggest hurdles facing the Black community?
Right.
It's
Yeah.
two big different questions.
Maybe that's an A and B. That's an A and B answer. So you can address it from that point. The first one, yeah. What yeah.
Detron, if you can expand on that, or you just want to do the A and B, Asa. Oh, he came back.
Yeah. There it is.
Yep. I think the biggest hurdle that we have is um, well, specifically if we were talking. So I'm from Broward County. I'm from Fort Lauderdale, and in Fort Lauderdale, it's different from even Miami, in the sense of Broward just has a lot more Black people, a lot more different kinds of Black people in Broward. Right? There's more Black people in Broward than Dade too, but there's just in the different types of Black people and Broward make it very hard to talk to all Black people in a way that's unifying. You got to kind of talk to each group in a different way to get them to the table, and then have conversations about moving forward as a group. So, in Broward, we got a large Trinidadian population, a Jamaican population, Haitian, African American, there's Bahamian. It's just so many different types of nationalities inside of Blackness, specifically. So when we're going out to the community, you kind of got to know where you're stepping in. Whose community is this? What kind of what folks here? What's their culture here? And how to have conversations with these folks. So I think in South Florida, one huge thing is around talking to Black folks when we're going out and addressing the community, is making sure that we understand the cultural differences of each set of Black people when we're having those conversations. You can't just go to the Haitian community and have an event there and only bring, like, if you're buying food, you can't only bring collard greens and fried chicken and, like, macaroni and cheese. You got to have some griot and some, you got to have stuff that's culturally relevant. So you just got to, you got to understand which community you're walking in and how to unify different types of Black people around the same goal. So I think that's something really big in South Florida.
Nah, I know. By knowing D-Tron, you got something else you gonna put in a minute.
Which is good, which is good, because sometimes you always want us to have someone that has quote unquote a third eye, a third level of reasoning. Oftentimes we sometimes don't always see it. So, or it's always good to hear, just the perspectives of interest.
Yeah, because I like to always hear his opinion when we're doing this, because he, like I said, he's a person that's constantly tuning in and asking questions or giving his point of view.
Yep.
So
See,
I knew that the socioeconomic was going to come up because it is so relevant, and I think regardless of whatever group you have, that is always something that we always got to make sure shows its relevance. So you guys can see the question. So
yeah, I mean, socioeconomics is a huge part of the conversation. So I mean, for us, when we're speaking to folks in the community, it's from a socioeconomic. I wouldn't say the whole part of it is, but you're not going to be able to build an organization unless you're able to engage with the material conditions, the economic and the social conditions of the people. And so we attempt to do that with every conversation. People want to know how they're going to eat, how they're going to have better schools, how they're going to have a better life for themselves, and why they aren't having those things. And for us, we come in with an analysis of why we don't have those things. And then our solution to them is that we as a community need to do two things: build our own, and to demand that the city, the state, and the country do what it's supposed to do with the monies that we already give it. We believe that Black people in particular, but immigrants of all races and ethnicities and nationalities are treated like an expendable resource in this country, and our socioeconomic condition is always at the bottom. And so if we want to improve that, we don't believe that the answer to that is just start more Black businesses or invest more money into just random Black projects, but that Black people need the power to determine what our lives look like and what our communities look like, just like other communities have that power, and to live in the way that we want to live. And so I mean, I don't know that I answered the question. I hope I did, but I think you already answered the question. As a person who asked it, you already know the answer. To us, it is almost central to our conversation when we're talking to community. And when community, as a very general term, when they're quote unquote talking back, that's what they're asking. You know, how do we improve our status? How do we improve our lot in life? And I think one of the answers to that is not just building an organization, but having the power. Ace and I were talking about it earlier, having the power and the experience and what it looks like to govern, and to be able to govern differently, because many of us behave as if we may never win. And so we don't want to even, you know, mess around with what does it look like to have power, or what does it look like to make real decisions that have repercussions on people's lives. And so that's a big part of it for us. How do we improve those conditions?
Okay. Well, I think we covered everything we need to cover. I know. Hold on. Say it to me.
The fact checker.
Oh, the question is asked: what different cities do you have chapters in?
Yeah, sure. We are in right now. We are in Houston, Atlanta, Miami, St. Louis, Detroit, Milwaukee. We'll soon have chapters in Columbus, Ohio. We're working on Chicago, Los Angeles, and Dallas, Texas as well.
New York.
And New York, and New York. Dang, and New York.
Okay. Before I get it, is there any other questions?
I'm wondering when Mrs. J is gonna be on is gonna be co-hosting this show.
She here already.
I know we need it on camera. You know?
That's who asking me the questions in the background.
We know who the real boss of the show is.
Yeah, I'm just here as a figurehead.
Keep you straight, dog.
Yeah, exactly.
But I appreciate you fellas coming on and doing the podcast for us this evening. Oh, okay.
The Democrats are a foe. They're a foe. But we live in a two-party country, and the viability of a third-party option is little to nothing in most places. And so we have to work within the confines that we're in until we could break out. So similar to how the Tea Party and the right wing has completely reconstituted the Republican Party, there are some opportunities for us to fight and battle within the Democratic Party for control of the Democratic Party. But the Democratic Party is a foe. They're an enemy, but right now they're the enemy that we have the best opportunity to exploit. That's what I think we feel.
Okay, because that's a common theme on this show that neither one of them are our friends.
No, definitely not. But that doesn't mean we can't get in the game. That don't mean we get it. We got to get in the game.
So quick, earlier you alluded to one of the things that's happening right now. One of the things that some of the things that you could do for community, and one of the things you said was to help people, hopefully stay in their homes and stuff like that, providing ways to combat that. So right now, as it is, the moratorium has expired, and I know a lot of people are scrambling all over the country, not families and stuff, and I guess obviously people who are reaching out to help them. But when people start getting kicked out of their homes and stuff like that, what's the redress? What's the recourse?
Well, there's supposed to be dollars that flow federally down to protect people and be able to keep them in their homes. What we have to demand is that the city and that the county steps in between the landlords and the slumlords and the developers and protects the people who actually live and give this city what it culturally needs, and really the tax base of this city. And so the dollars are already there. They just need to be used. Many of those landlords who are going to be trying to come in and take the homes from people who have been in there and can't afford it also receive government subsidies. And so they're not hurting as much as they'd like to make a case out to be. They receive money from the government, and many of them are still receiving rent payments from those tenants, maybe not at the level that they want, but the greed has to stop. And we cannot continue to allow it. So the redress, I think, is on two fronts. One, we have to demand that the monies that is already earmarked to protect renters, to protect people and keep them in their homes, actually is used in that way. And I think on the other hand, we need to do some things that are maybe more aggressive that we can't talk about on the bridge. You know, we need to make sure that we are able to protect people. And if they think they could just throw people's clothes and livelihoods on the corner without anything happening, they might have to face some repercussions and consequences for that. We have to be organized for that. We can't just talk cash. We have to actually be there and be organized.
Cool. Indeed,
Okay,
indeed.
since y'all done started this, the boss told me to ask for y'all to give y'all social media handles for Black Men Build and the people to contact for becoming part of the organization again.
All right, I'm gonna hand that to Ace. I've been talking.
Yeah, we're Black Men Build on everything. So Black Men Build on everything, on IG, on Twitter, on Facebook, just Black Men Build. Um, and yeah, that's that's all I handle.
The email for you for R White,
Yep.
what is it? R White at blackmen.build.
Yep.
Yep. So
And
rwhite at blackmen.build if you want to get involved with the organization. Any other questions in general, you can hit me up at ASA at blackmen.build or Phil at blackmen.build.
all right, y'all made me good look good. I ain't gonna get in trouble tonight.
Yeah.
Yeah,
And I know you want to go eat, man. So I appreciate you having us
man.
on.
Yes, sir. Thank you.
Yeah, so I'm a hold on for 1 second. We gonna wrap. This has been another episode of The Bridge. Irie, do you have you gotta say something for this week or next week?
Next week, Friday, Ricky Smiley morning show. 9:30 between 9:35 9:45. Um, Tomorrow, if you're following my links, I did an interview, just personal, talking about myself on podcast. If you guys are interested in following this particular podcast, it's called Knowing. You only know half, and it's a good friend of mine. Her name is Dahlia Walker Huntington. She's an immigration attorney here, but she's also big in community activism, political activism, as well. And basically, she interviews people who are um, Jamaican heritage, Jamaican descent, born and raised in Jamaica, and now live here in the United States, and just talking about our existence living in Jamaica and what it's like living here in the states. So that link comes out tomorrow. Take a look, see. Listen to me cut up and talk foolishness. No, that's it. But yeah, but there's some other things that's coming down the pike. But I'm just grateful for um, a decent busy summer for clients and clientele and things that I can get involved in. Hopefully I'll get myself back in tune to doing some more stuff in the community. And one of my community things usually comes towards the end of the year, Thanksgiving project, where we do stuff for single moms,
Hmm.
and so I've been doing that for a few years now. So hopefully this year we get it bigger and get more people involved and all that good stuff.
Wow. Definitely want to get more involved.
Hmm.
All right. This has been another episode of The Bridge. Catch you next week. Peace.